Hey everyone and welcome back. In this video, I will show you how to internationalize your app, but it's not just about translating text. I will show you some concepts, advanced concepts that will make you master in the library. So let me show you what you're gonna learn in this video. First, let me translate the app into the English. I will show you how you can use the interpolation concepts, which is about inserting variables inside the sentences. So here's the message. Welcome, John, to our app. You are 20 years old. John and 20 are variables, and instead of splitting our message into multiple messages and then concatenating it using the plus symbol, what we're going to do is we're going to use variables, and then we are going, during the translation, we are going to provide the i18 library with these information, and then the i18 library is going to replace the variable with the information you are provided. The next thing is crucial if you're working with languages that start from the right, just like the Arabic language. When we go into the Arabic, not only the text go from the right, but also the elements. Because imagine if your app is in Arabic and some of your elements start from the left, like flat list and buttons, that is going to be awful and is going to send a negative signal to your users. The next thing is the pluralization. Let me go back into the English. Now, as you see, you have one item in your cart. Now, imagine if you have like 3 items. Now, we will need to add S to the item. So you can say you have 3 items, not 3 items in your cart. This is a concept called pluralization. I'm going to show you the concept during the video as well. And next, I will show you how to use the device default language to feed your app the name of the language, so your app can use that language as a default. Because imagine if your app is in Arabic, you set the default language to Arabic, and then someone English open your app, and the first thing he can see is the Arabic language. Chances are he's going to close the app and he will never come back again. So what we're going to do is we are going to fetch the language name, and we're going to use it as a default in your app. And finally, the last thing you learn is how to save the language on the user device. So when the user come back in the next time, he will see the language that he chose before. So now you know what you're going to learn in this video. If you're interested, let's jump in and start coding. Now let me bring the terminal here, and let me close the current project and close that. And let me create a new project. I will say npx create expo app at latest, and let's call it change lang, and this is going to take a second. Okay, now the app completed installing. I'm going to open my IDE, and also I'm going to launch the project. Let me close this project, and I'm going to say npx expo start, and then I'm going to hit the I to open the simulator. And here in the IDE, in the cursor, I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it locals. And inside it, I'm going to define my language files. I'm going to create the first file, going to be JSON file, is going to be the English. And the second file is going to be Arabic.json. In English, let me put something very simple, welcome. Welcome to the app. And in the Arabic, I'm going to do the same. And let me create the i18 file. Let me actually create a new folder, lib, and inside it, we're going to create the i18.ts. And let me install the dependencies that we are going to need. We are going to need the core library, the i18next, and then we're going to use a plugin to make the library work with React, because the library is not made specifically for React, but it's made to work in many development environments, and each environment will need like a plugin that is going to bind the library to the work environment, to the React. So I'm going to npm install i18next, and then I'm going to install the plugin React i18next, and then I'm going to import the i18, and then I'm going to import the plugin, and then we're going to use the instance, the i18, to use the plugin, and then we are going to init the process. The init function here is kind of like the function that will kickstart the process, and the use here is a function from the instance that we use to feed the plugin to the instance. And the resources here is the list of our language is it's an object. So let me create a new variable or constant. It's going to be resources, and then the language key, and then we also add another object is going to be translation equal to the file. And let me save and then provide the resource. So here we have the object of configurations. This is simply you're guiding or constructing how the i18 is going to behave inside your app. So what we are saying here, we are setting the default language, and here we say fallback lang. In case of errors, or if you provide a language that doesn't exist in your list in here, we are going to fall back to the default language. Now I'm going to go into the index, tabs, index, and let me remove all of that. And then we are going to import the use translation hook. And then we're going to use the T function. We are going to destructure the T function and then the i18 instance. The hook return an object. So we destructure the object. We take the T function. This function is what we're going to use to translate text. And then we have the i18 instance. It contains some functions and also properties that contains information that we need. So I'm going to replace this. I'm going to try something. Let me remove that. Let's just try to translate a welcome message. Let me center the content. Okay. Let me save and let's go back into our app. Let me refresh. And translation is not working here because we are not including the file in the project. So we have the file, but the file is not yet a part of the project. We have not given it existence. We have not recognized it. So you have to find the highest file in your hierarchy, and then you're going to include or require the file. So I'm going to the highest file in my project is the layout, and then I'm going to import the file. Do not import anything from inside the file. You import the file itself. And then we're going to save and let's return, and then I'm going to refresh. Okay, we have an error. Okay, now we have implemented our internationalization. Now, let me show you how you can use the concept of the interpolation. Let me go in our index, and we want to say, actually, let me start with the English file. I'm just going to say welcome name. This should be a message, a welcome message that contain the username. So we're gonna say welcome, and then we're gonna pass two curly braces, and inside it we are going to pass the variable name. So this part is variable, and you will have to pass information correspond to that name, and the i18 is going to replace this variable with the corresponding information. And let me show you how to add more than one variable. So let's just put something like you are 18 years old, and we're gonna replace the number by another variable. We're gonna say age, and the way to replace the variable is we're going to the index and we're gonna add, let me replace that. So the T function here take multiple arguments. The first argument will always be the key for the translation, and the second argument, in case if you have variable inside the sentence, you're gonna pass an object that contains the name of the variable and the corresponding information. So here we say the name is John and the age is 20, and we're gonna save and we see welcome John, you are 20 years old. The second concept is the pluralization. Let me show you another thing. I'm going to say text T items count, and this is going to be 10. And in the English, I'm going to say items count is going to be the count is going to be a variable, and then we're gonna pass items. And let me go back in the home, and you have 10 items. But what if we only pass one item? It's still items, it has not changed to item. So we are going to use the pluralization concept, and the way it works is you're going to add another underscore, and then you add terms or suffixes that work as if statement. So here if you say, let me copy that, of course you have to copy, and let me put it in here, And if you say 0, this message here will override that message if the number you pass it in the variable is 0. So let's remove the s in here, and let's go back, and let me go in the index and change the 1 to be 0. Age count is 0, and now the items became item. Now the next thing is how to use the device default language to make it our default language in the app. The way to do that is we need to access the user device default language, and the way to do that is we are going to install expo localization. I'm going to say npm install expo localization, and then we are going to import, actually it's in the i18 file. I'm going to import get locals from the expo localization. The get locals function get so much information about the device. It gets the language, the currency, the country. So I'm going to say default language is going to be get locals, and then we are going to take the language code. If you first time see the get locals, I highly suggest you console log the function and see what kind of information it brings to you. And here, of course, we are going to pass the language to be the default language. And of course, here we have to put if statement. Just like that, we say if the default language, otherwise use the n, which is the English language. And let's go into the Arabic file and let's add the rest of the other translations. Okay, let's refresh our app. Okay, because the device default language is Arabic, now it opened our Arabic language by default. So now we have made our language depend on the user device language. Now let me save the language on the device. So when the user update the language, whenever he go and come back again, he will find the language that he chose. So we are going to use a library called async storage to save the setting on the user device and then read it from the device. There are many other libraries, but we're going to use the async storage. So let me install the library. I'm going to go in a new tab, and then I'm going to install the library. And let's go in the index, and then we are going to import async storage. And let me create a function that will change the language. So we're gonna say const change language is going to be async, and it's going to be to take a string. And the first thing we're gonna do is we are going to save the language on the user device, and then we're gonna update the language. And then we're gonna add the buttons. Okay, this one is going to update the button to Arabic, and this one is going to update to English. And then let me say set Arabic, and this one is going to be set English. Okay, and let's try set English, set Arabic. Okay, now there is something. If you, for example, if we refresh the app, it will come back with the Arabic language. Let me show you. Refresh. Okay, come back with Arabic because we have saved the language, but we have not configured the i18. So every time the app load, it will try to fetch the language from the user device. So I'm going to go back in the i18, and then I'm going to create a new function. I'm going to say get language. And in the get language, I'm going to use the async to try to get the item to read the language from the user device. And if we do have a language, we are going to say if language, we are going to say just i18 change language. So if we do have language, we are going to use the i18 instance, and we're going to use the function from the instance to set the language. And then we're going to call the function. Okay, and now I'm going back to the app, and let's refresh. Okay, now it come back in English. So if we change now to Arabic and refresh, it's going to come back in Arabic. English is going to come back in English. Now we have memorized the language name on the user device. Now the last thing is about how to change the page directions from the right to left and left to right, because if you're working with a language that starts from the right to left, you cannot have like the text starts from the right, but the rest of the elements like flat list, like buttons, are going to start from the left. So I will show you how to change the page direction depending on the language that the user choose. So I'm going to begin by using the i18 manager from the React Native. Let me import i18 manager. Okay, from React Native. Okay, and then we are going to say if the language is Arabic, we are going to set, actually let me do it just like i18 manager allow RTL. So if the language starts from the right to left, we are going to allow the RTL and also force the RTL. And we are going to do the same in the function that change language, because this function work only when the app load from the start. But now if the user change the language, you have to also add those two lines inside the function that will update the language. So we are going to add them just like that. Okay, we're gonna import the i18 manager. Problem here is those two commands, if you execute them, you will have to restart the app. The way to do that, we are going to import the native models, and then we are going to use native models dot dev settings and then reload. Let's try our app. Let me set Arabic. Now the app has been reloaded. Now our video completed. Thank you very much for watching, and if you like the video, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much.